What's up, guys? Welcome to another edition of Pro Wrestling Pulse on Temple Corner Quad. I am J-Man. Got a very special edition for you guys here today.
We're going to make some peanut butter and jellies.
So munches.
Some bitches.
Didn't realize how much it sounded like some bitches.
Some bitches.
Some bitches.
Make me peanut butter and some bitches.
No one knows what we're talking about. Haven't done one of these Pulse 10s in a while, so we figured, we were rolling down the list. We just got our ass kicked by the Predators on NHL 15, so we were like, yeah, let's just see what video we could do today, maybe, because we got pissed off, and now we just want to go play hockey again. As soon as we get ready to do something else, we just want to go back to what we were doing. We're going to go ahead and give this one to you guys here. As you can see by the title, we were trying to decide something.
Down?
I think it's down now.
Down?
I think it's down.
Goes down?
It's down now. It's going down on us. What?
BC. Like Bill Cosby.
We were kind of trying to gear one of these Pulse 10s. Or usually we geared around whatever's going on in current wrestling, whether it be pay-per-view stuff or in the stories or whatever the case may be. The last one we did was around Hell in a Cell last fall, so we did our Pulse 10 Hell in a Cell matches. So with Extreme Rules coming up, I believe a week from today. I'm sorry, is it a week from today? It is a week from today. Okay, so next week. So we'll be looking out for our preview next week for that. We decided to do our Pulse 10.
I don't know if we can really preview shit.
Oh, true. Match types for you guys. So basically this is obviously with all the gimmick matches and stuff like that. These are our combined 10. We'll individually tell us where we had these listed, but we came to a total of 10. And as you can see in the bottom, we have listed down there the honorable mentions, which we will go over here. Honorable mentions that we had here, we had Iron Man, I Quit, Championship Scramble, 3 Stages of Hell, and Submission. Now we had tons more, obviously, but we the last one we had like 5 honorable mentions, so we just we'll just stick to 5. Obviously Iron Man, one of the most biggest match types you can think of, very, very rarely used. I think there's only been like 4 or 5 of them, at least like WWE standards. To me, my favorite one will always be the Judgment Day 2001 with The Rock and Triple H. Obviously, the most notable, famous one is obviously Shawn Michaels and Bret Hart, the very first one. There's been ones here or there. I know the Anything Goes one that Randy and John Cena had back in 2009, and then obviously the kind of hidden gem one, which is Brock Lesnar and Kurt Angle back in 2003 on a SmackDown. Would have been awesome to go to that weekly show. Holy shit.
Didn't Stone Cold have one?
No.
That's submission match.
Yeah, no, he never had one. It's always the one obviously notable for the great workers, the guy that has great cardio. And if you listen to all the names that I just listed, obviously is so a great match there. Didn't make our cut, but definitely a big match as far as Iron Man match goes.
Iron Man match is one of those technique matches where you can't really throw a Big Show or a Ryback in. It's one of those matches where you could have a Daniel Bryan or Seth Rollins go.
Yeah. Which would be
I'm going to be talking very little because J-Man has snacks and didn't offer me any, so I'm going to be short.
I went upstairs before we get all our pre-production together, and I was like, motherfucker, man, you need any upstairs? Nah, I'm good, man. It's all good. I was like, cool, man.
I didn't know you were offering goodies.
And shit. Do you want some? They're good, too. They're like a little mixed treat. Okay.
And you have...
Whatever, man. Whatever.
I'm going to go let the cat out.
Don't do that, man. Don't do it.
I'm going to let them black pussy out.
Whoa, way too soon. I Quit would be the next one on our honorable mentions list here. Obviously, a very kind of anything goes type matchup here, but the premise of making your opponent say I quit, whether it be kind of verbal to the referee, whether it be, but it mostly has to be verbal to your opponent. They come and bring the mic up to them, and that, for us, kind of brought it out of the top 10 because it's been some great moments in them. Obviously, you look at Royal Rumble in '99 with Rock and Mankind, obviously a very infamous match with the chair shots that people talk about today and everything that happened there. We loved it, that's for sure. One of the great kind of hardcore type matches that really helped make The Rock at that time.
And Mankind.
But nowadays it's very stupid. I mean, it just doesn't work right. It's so overbooked. They do the fucking audio vocals of people over the productions. It's just ridiculous nowadays. But back in the day, was definitely something. You look at obviously the old school ones like Flair and Funk and stuff like that, that were just hardcore. And this is the culmination of a feud. So it's stuff that worked back in the day, but it kind of tapered off, as the years went by.
It didn't taper off. It pussied off.
Yeah, it did very much so. A lot of these matches that we'll get to.
It's because a lot of the stuff with PG. With the PG base shit, you can't really have a whole lot of blood or a guy that's not being able to stand. If kids need to realize that if you fall down, you bounce back up. So, if somebody gets smoked in the side of the head with a sledgehammer...
You're not getting up.
They're not going to get up, but that's their favorite superstar, so...
Exactly. Next up, one of my personal favorites, which was a championship scramble. back in 2008, I believe this was used at Unforgiven. And I want to say they used it the next year too, maybe? I don't know. But they didn't continue it, and it was something that I enjoyed. And especially nowadays, you could easily do this with how much they treat the title like a piece of candy, saying how, for 10 seconds, Brian Kendrick was a WWE champion for whatever time period that was. But
it was the Brian Kendrick.
The Brian Kendrick, correct. I actually love that gimmick. But, it was fun. I mean, it felt very unpredictable as it went along. It felt like there was just more of a sense of a possibility of a title change. I thought the concept was very original and very unique. And I felt like it produced some fun stuff. I thoroughly enjoyed that Unforgiven 08 show. That was the one that I think Randy took out Punk, and Punk was a champ, which sucked, but took out Punk, and then Jericho came in and ended up winning that Scramble match for the world title at the time. But something that they kind of didn't use anymore, and I think that they could easily use, especially for mid-card titles, this and that, kind of getting a bunch of guys that really don't have a focus point.
Bunch of folk.
A bunch of guys that don't have a focus or like where they're going, throw them in there and just have a fun little intriguing match that'll definitely garner some attention to the audience there and viewing around the world. So I thoroughly enjoyed it, and I wish they would bring it back.
It's one of these, like J-Man said, one of these gems that you don't see very often anymore. Why'd you take my pen?
Oh shit, that is your pen, man. I'm sorry. I thought that was mine. I saw the same pen. I thought you had my notebook.
It's one of the last gems, like little gems that you don't see very often. It's something that where we could use it for IC titles, US titles, something where you could get multiple names in there. It's not a stupid battle royal. So
right, and that was actually the one thing that fucker.
Sorry.
The one thing that
I didn't see
that was an Adam Lee original. Adam Lee
very
original.
good.
Just like how they say Eric Bischoff, created the Elimination Chamber. That was an Adam Lee original.
Yeah, Bischoff for Jericho.
Yeah, so that was the best thing to ever know about Mike Adam Lee. That's for sure. Jeff Harvey and all the other stupid shit that he came out of his mouth.
What about I thought it was Jericho who started the chamber.
What? No, that was the Money in the Bank.
Oh, okay, I knew.
No, Eric Bischoff was the one that created the Elimination Chamber and all that kind of shit. 3 Stages of Hell would be the next one here on our honorable mentions list. Had a lot of great matches here. Obviously, the best one being Triple H and Stone Cold back from No Way Out in 2001. That was great. It set the gimmick off. It's just 2 out of 3 falls match, but you just add more gimmick matches to it. Basically, you don't have a normal one to and it builds the anticipation. It makes the feel of the match grow. It helps it progress throughout the match. It makes it feel bigger as it goes on. It's almost like you have a feud that gets 3 pay-per-view matches in one night. And it kind of gets all culminated there. So I thoroughly enjoy that one. And again, one that's used not as frequent, but I think it gets over that type of feel of that match because of how much is involved with that feud that has to go along with it. So 3 Stages of Hell, definite honorable mention on our list.
Didn't 3 Stages of Hell, didn't Randy have to do that one night?
Randy and Tripp had one at the Great American Bash or the Bash, I think in 2009.
Okay, that's what I thought.
Yep.
That's why but 3 Stages of Hell is like an Iron Man with gimmicks.
Yeah,
because you have 3 matches that they're usually not that long, but when you go, it's like you have steel cage, no DQ, and something else.
Right.
And it's not like these matches you can just get done quickly. You have to beat the crap out of the person. So
exactly.
This is one of those used sparingly, and when they use it correctly.
Right. Last one on our list was one that Quaddy definitely wanted to go on this list, and obviously with the right people is a great one, which is a submission match. Obviously all about, technical guys getting in there. But then again, you have those matches, that aren't with say one technical guy, and you throw another guy in there, and it's like, oh, we'll see if it works. A la what happened to WrestleMania 13 in the submission match with Stone Cold and Bret Hart, which is one of the best matches in history. So it's just that it's all about the will and the drive of that superstar or whatever to get over that gimmick of the only way to win this matchup is if this person gives up. And whether it be, with the technical work or whether it be with just beating the shit out of each other, or they're just giving up, not giving up, just passing out. So if worked properly, definitely one of the best, gimmick matches you could put on there with some great, technical type guys.
Didn't Undertaker have one? That's when he learned the gates of hell.
You know what? I think he had something with Kurt Angle or something like that around that time.
Because
it wasn't No Way Out 06 because that was just a regular one, but I think it was around that time where he had to do that.
He had
Hell's Gate.
Yeah, he used Hell's Gate, and that was one of those where you're just like, Undertaker in a submission match, guy, and then he brought out fucking Hell's Gate, and you're just like,
true, very true.
And he still used it
to this day.
He does wrestle.
Yeah, whenever that is. All right, so starting our list, done with the honorable mentions there. Again, we had probably a list of at least 8 or 7 or however many more. There was tons on there, buried alives and casket matches, all that kind of stuff. Which in the right proper usage.
But see, we also went through the list and crossed off a lot of the shit we don't want.
Right.
The Vicky Guerrero,
Punjabi Prison, and so unfortunately we won't have that on our list.
No bra panties here.
No, unfortunate for quality.
Or tuxedo matches.
Nope, none of that. What we do have on our list, starting at number 10, we have just a plain old down and dirty steel cage matchup, which we'll actually be seeing at Extreme Rules next week. With Seth Rollins and Randy Orton. We're both thoroughly looking forward to that. Should be some great stuff with those guys in there. But Steel Cage, just so much history. Just one of the most historic wrestling matches and match types in wrestling history, with everything down the road back in the 70s and 80s, and go with all the stuff in the NWA and the WCW and stuff like that with the Flairs and the goddamn Dusty Rhodeses and all those kind of. Just the names go on and on and on, and the fucking Magna TAs and the Tully Blanchards and just fucking everything that ever happened inside of a steel cage back in the history, of wrestling, and back when that crucial time when those matches were so significant and were really used to culminate a feud. You had all those matches that built up to this, and you finally put them inside a cage. And, back when the territories were around, and people funneled to those matches to see those matches because they knew this was the culmination of what they wanted to see. Nowadays, with all the gimmicks and everything that's being used and everything, we have it on every fucking pay-per-view and almost every damn live TV show that we get. It gets watered down a lot, and the significance of it. And then you see obviously the Hell in the Cells and the Chambers, and putting 3 cages on top of each other. So the luster of just a plain old cage match gets lost. But there's been so many great ones throughout the years. Too much to mention, to be quite honest with you. Some of my favorites off the top of my head, I always remember the one with Chris Benoit and Kurt Angle on Raw back in 01. I remember the one that he did the Angle did the moonsault off of. Just great stuff. And you could also add in, 6 Sides of Steel, which is another kind of evolution of a steel cage, which we didn't even talk about, in pre-production. But just another variation of that, and adding in Lethal Lockdown. Then everything just kind of culminates, and you get the Hell in the Cells and the Chambers and this and that. So, so many great cage matches, so much history to that match, and definitely deserved of being on our top 10 match types.
Whenever you talk about gimmick matches or match types, you always have to start with the Hell in a Cell, or not the Hell in a Cell, the cage match.
Yeah.
Because it's going to sound weird. You start from the bottom, and
it's the evolution.
It's the beginning of different types of cage matches. Because you can go from a cage match to Hell in a Cell to a chamber, and then you can go from 6 sides to a Lethal Lockdown to all this other stuff you can use. And whenever you start talking about vintage old wrestling, where you had these guys that feuded for 3 months, 4 months, a year.
Yeah.
You always had that cage match thrown in there because people couldn't get in. It was one of those matches where if you're in there, you can't get out. Or back in the day where the referee wasn't even in there. The only way you could escape was from the top or through the door. Now it's they hit him with a punch. Oh, cage match is over. He didn't use the cage. What's the fucking purpose of having it? So,
right.
Some of my favorites. Probably the Angle Benoit one probably is what sticks out.
There was always a lot of good ones on SmackDown too.
Yeah,
it seems like that SmackDown DVD had a shit ton of them.
Yeah,
Eddie and Ray had a bunch of good ones. Eddie and JBL. Edge was in a lot of them.
Yeah, there was a lot of ones because it seemed like back in the day, SmackDown was getting a lot of the good quality matches, and Raw was getting a lot of the, hey, we're gonna have a talk show, or hey, we're gonna have random matches where it has no purpose. SmackDown was the second tier show, and it was more building guys up. Right. Look at Punk. He came in on SmackDown, or ECW, but he came in and started working well on SmackDown, and they realized, oh, this guy can actually go, so we're going to put him on Raw.
Yeah, it's a good thing I totally forgot about 6 Sides of Steel, because tons of great stuff there.
Yeah.
Great stuff that AJ and Christian and all those kind of guys did in there. Who was that? Christian Cage?
Christian Cage.
It's a classic. Same time we synchronized that shit. The great stuff there, and the evolution of that, kind of everything. So just so much history to that, and hopefully more history will be made next Sunday at Extreme Rules.
That was my number 10, BTW.
Yeah, that was my shit. I don't even have my list anymore of where the fuck I was at on that one. I believe my cage match was actually a little bit higher. Pause for 1 second. I need to go get that list.
I don't think we've ever done this.
I don't think we have ever done this, but I need to make sure I remember where the hell our list's at.
So, how about them Blues?
And Prom 2. That's a good comeback. We needed that win. Big win. Okay, where the fuck was my cage match? So my cage match was number 9. So that's what we had.
Higher. Yeah.
Higher. Just a little bit higher, but it is higher. So steel cage, the history that's behind it, the lineage of it, and just the significance to the wrestling history and everything that it has to do with that. Definitely deserving of being on our Pulse 10 match types. Next up, we have our number 9, which is an anything goes based matches. You know, your no holds barred, your street fights, your no DQs. Your fight without honors, your hardcore matches, your extreme rules matches, and like to a present day guerrilla warfare match that you see in PWG. This is just go out there, 2 guys, tag teams, triple threats, whatever the fucking case may be, and they just go out there and just beat the shit out of each other and do whatever you want. I mean, when casual fans think of professional wrestling, they think of, coming up, I'm going to grab a chair and hit you in the back. That's where you think of that. You think of all those anything goes matches that are just way too much to even more so than cage matches to think of how many great ones of those. You think of all the great matches that you just think of top of mind that have no DQ stipulations on it, or no holds barred stipulations, or the street fights, whatever the case may be. It's just another kind of culminating thing, or even a thing along the road of a feud that you throw in there to kind of up the stakes. Again, it's just you go out there and back in the day, before a lot of things got watered down, it was stuff that was brutal. I mean, it's stuff to the blood and the guts and everything that hardcore wrestling fans of what you wanted to see in a great blood feud like we do. Everybody wanted to see those type matches because that's what you build to. You look at some of the best in history. Obviously, an unsanctioned match it was called, but SummerSlam 2002 with Shawn Michaels' comeback against Triple H. Just so many great street fights and no holds barred match. And a WrestleMania 17 main event, Rock and Austin, my favorite WrestleMania of all time. That main event had I believe a no DQ stipulation on it, no holds barred stipulation on it. So I mean, you look at so many down the road, you might not even realize until you kind of look at the fine detail that that had that on there too, because you look at what they did in there. So to me, it's nothing that you can pigeonhole yourself. You can't get cornered in with that stipulation. You can't get stuck anywhere. You have free reign to really do whatever the hell you want in that matchup. So anything goes, definitely on our Pulse 10 match types.
This was my number 8 BTW, but
this was I had this higher. My no DQ was 7. Oh, higher again by 1.
But no, when you think of these matches, you think of like not necessarily a pay-per-view, like something you see like on a Raw or a SmackDown or that other show that's on.
What's that other one called?
I don't have the channel.
I don't either. I don't even know what the fuck it's called.
And they may have changed its name by then because they're fucking probably going bankrupt.
But they don't pay anybody anymore either.
Yeah, 4 months behind. But back to this. It's one of those matches where it's not like the end of the feud. It's more after like a regular match where somebody gets DQ'd or somebody gets involved or beginning of something like bigger. Just it's a stepping stone in the process of people that back 10 years, 15 years ago that WWE used to follow, where you go from you start with the match on a Royal Rumble, and then you go to the February pay-per-view and have a street fight.
Right.
And then you go to Mania and you have a Hell in a Cell or some kind of other match, and then you go to the match after, or pay-per-view after Mania, which has changed so much lately, and you have another match. You do the building blocks. With this is more of a stepping stone. It's not something that ends a pay-per-view or ends a feud. Right. It may. Good. But a lot of it's the beginning of a feud.
Which is great, because I think that's another reason why it's on our list is how versatile it is. Mm-hmm. And how you don't corner yourself in. You don't have, I have to win this way. It has to be, wrestling fans will know, okay, I know how this is going to end. At least how it's going to happen. You don't know what's going to happen. You don't know where they're going to be.
You also have this this match type where you could do a First Blood or something like that, where you actually get a blood feud out of this.
Yep.
You could also, there's so much stuff you can use. Yep. It's like, here's a blank piece of paper. Or anything goes. Do what you want. Like with some of the other matches, you're just like, oh, you have to climb this, you have to go through there, you have to go out this way. With this, you could put anybody in, and they can somehow either carry this match or fall on their face.
Exactly. So many ways to go with that. So many great matches, and definitely deserving to be on our list here. Next up, we have a very unique one. One of back in the TNA that we love, which is the King of the Mountain match. Obviously, the reverse ladder match. A lot of people were confused when they first saw this. I was confused when I first saw this. But it's so unique, and to us, definitely deserving to be on our list. A lot of great matches. There's been times where you kind of get in there and you think, how the fuck is this going to work? You got to pin somebody, and then they go into a cage outside. Again, like we were talking, I kind of pigeonhole yourself, but when worked properly, it's so unique and so creative of a mindset of a match type, because no one would think of having a reverse ladder match where you don't go get the title. You have to go put the title up there, and the name fits perfectly for what it was. Obviously, the first winner and taking and coining that name of being King of the Mountain, Jeff Jarrett, obviously winning that matchup. And I believe it went a streak of like, I don't know how many years, I think up until 2008, which we actually went to that, me and Robert went to that Slammiversary, where Samoa Joe was finally the first person to retain in a King of the Mountain match. It went like 4 or however many years it was, with people always losing the title. 2007 was a good one. Kurt Angle won his first TNA title in 2007 Slammiversary. But just so many great moments with that, as far as just TNA that we love and I love so much, because that's where they built that history. Where they went to years past that is really unfortunate, because that's where we are today. But that's TNA history. That's the TNA we love. And the great moments and talent and matches that we saw out of that. Just an intriguing, creative idea for a match type, and just produced some really fun, enjoyable times to watch TNA's product with that King of the Mountain match. And always looking forward to Slammiversary and who are they going to put in that King of the Mountain match. And, the 5 people that you always kind of decide, like, oh, well, they could probably put him in there. You got obviously the champions in there at that time. So it was always something that we always look forward to, and was always, a great matchup. And I thoroughly enjoyed the King of the Mountain match.
This was not my number 5.
It was my number 10, actually. I talked like it was like the greatest thing ever, but I did have it.
It's one of these matches where back in TNA's day, this is what made TNA so unique. And this is what kind of killed TNA also when they stopped using it. When you think of King of the Mountain, you instantly go to a TNA company. You don't think of King of the Mountain at WWE. In a lot of the other matches, you think of more WWE based. But this is what made TNA so unique.
Right.
This, and having 6 sides, and having these X Division guys that you can use in this, and you can do so much other stuff with them, where you don't have to worry about, oh, this guy's not going to make it up the fucking ladder. You used a Christopher Daniels, a Kaz, a AJ Styles, a Jeff Jarrett, a guys like that, Suicide, a
Christian,
smaller guys, but guys that could all Canadian P.D. Williams. You use guys like that in there, where okay, we know this guy can climb a ladder without fucking having to stop because he's out of breath.
Right.
These guys can go for 30, 45 minutes as long as this King of the Mountain match is, and we don't have to worry about him passing out or having a heart attack or wanting to get food. So,
King of the Mountain, our number 8 on our Pulse 10 match types. Number 7 is J-Man's number 6, which is just another historical, plain and simple, but yet so diverse match type, which is just the ladder match. No variation to it, nothing to it. Climb a ladder, whether it be 2 guys, a tag team, whatever the case may be, to go get whatever prize they're going for, normally a championship. So we had the reverse ladder match and going to where it all started, which is just the plain and simple ladder match. Again, so much history to this. With the first, however many we had here, obviously the steel cage and anything goes and no holds barred, and now this ladder match. So much history when it comes to wrestling, when it comes to first starting. I believe the first ladder match back was in like Stampede Wrestling. Stu Hart, I think, was like in the fucking 70s or something like that. And they had a huge ass like painter's ladder that was like 40 feet tall or something. Just the evolution of where this all came from, and obviously the most historical first ladder match being at WrestleMania 10. Not the first ladder match, but the most historical ladder match as far as really carving a legacy for this. WrestleMania 10 with Shawn Michaels and Razor for the 2 IC titles, and just went and just tore the fucking house down and completely renovated and completely inspired so much talent that is in the business today and was in the business in the past. You look at the Edge and Christians and the Hardys and the Dudleys that went on to have those great ladder matches and TLC matches and everything that they went on through the Attitude Era, were all inspired by what Shawn and Razor started at WrestleMania 10. You look at all the great ones, tons of underrated ladder matches that you could speak of. You look at ones like with Benoit and Jericho at Royal Rumble 2000, which was great. You look at stuff that Eddie did with ladder matches, Rey Mysterio. The Rey and Mysterio ladder match they had at SummerSlam. So many great Shawn Michaels ladder matches. One of the best ones, I believe the best one that he had, his last ladder match I want to say his last ladder match ever for Shawn Michaels, which was in 2008 with Chris Jericho at No Mercy, was outstanding. So you look at just it's plain and simple nowadays, but when it first started out, it was so unique and so revolutionary as far as what the future was going to hold. Because you could look back at WrestleMania 10 and the building blocks of where that started, and then you look to what all the great tag teams through the late 90s did with Edge and Christian, the Hardys and the Dudleys, and taking that ladder and just making it into fucking art. I mean, with what they did around it. So just it's a simple concept, it's a simple idea, but people made it so multi-dimensional and just so outstanding to where we so look forward to ladder matches these days. And you look at the Money in the Banks nowadays, where you put contracts on the line for future title shots, and how important ladder matches are to wrestling, and how enjoyable it is to wrestling fans, because we love ladder matches and any variation of it. So definitely deserving to be on our match types here.
Ladder matches is like the cage match, but just for ladders. It's the stepping stone of the other things you can do with the ladder match. It started, like J-Man said, back in the 70s, the big one in WWE's with Razor and Shawn. It was a stepping stone of other things you can do. Because you always had the tables matches, you always had the cage matches. The ladder matches was the beginning of the unique matches for the smaller type guys.
Right.
You have Money in the Bank, you have King of the Mountain, you have TLC, you have so much stuff that just bounced off this ladder match. God, some of my favorites, Eddie and Ray for the custody battle thing was a really good one. Just the whole story behind that one.
So many was the first that started the tag team greatness that happened in the late 90s, which was that No Mercy in 99 with Edge and Christian and the Hardys, that just totally
surprised everybody.
Opened everybody's eyes, because that was the first tag team ladder match. And they were like, how the fuck are they not going to go out there and kill each other? And you look at what happened in the future, but they were just talking one ladder, two teams, and then what that changed into, and what those four guys that were all just fighting for a spot really to get noticed, and they went out there and just blew people's minds as far as like, holy shit, we want to see way more of that. And that's also another great one.
That was number 9 on my list.
Yeah, I think that was number, like I said, I think 6 on mine. So great one there. Next up, we have one that we unfortunately are going to be seeing next Sunday with two people that will not pull it off, but there has been many people in the past that have pulled it off great, which is the Last Man Standing match. This one, obviously, it's just another anything goes type variation match, but obviously with the stipulation of you have to beat your opponent so bad that they will not be able to answer a 10 count.
Beat.
Have to brutalize on however
no,
many
because
words
there's
they
ways
use.
They can fucking
they can make it bad. Exactly, make it PG.
Which is going to happen Sunday.
Right. But back in the day, it was just another one where they just went out there and it was a culmination of feud. This was not one you used in the middle of a feud or towards the beat, whatever the case may be. This was a culmination of a feud type matchup, and pulled off with the right guys. It was great. And it's a great concept. It's a very old school gladiator type thing where you just beat them so bad that they cannot get up anymore. We were kind of disputing this one kind of goes along with the lines of like an I Quit type match where it's just the same type thing, and then towards the end of the match you have to have something happen. But this one, it has more variations of telling a great story. As far as the guy that constantly gets beat down, and he gets back up and fights back, and whatever the case may be. But again, tons of great ones you could talk of. A lot of the ones that were back years and years ago, definitely over the past 10 years. One, I believe, probably one of the last good ones was in 2009 with Edge and John Cena at Backlash. The John Cena and Umaga match at Royal Rumble 07 is one of the best John Cena matches in history, which is saying something nowadays with how many great matches he put on after that point. But that was outstanding. Tons of the ones back in the day. Didn't have really a lot with the more notable people off the top of my head that I can't really think of, with like the Rocks and Austins and stuff like that. There are more in the no DQs and the cage matches, street fight, first blood type matches, stuff like that. But there were some great ones, and that's for sure. I remember Shawn Michaels and Triple H had a great one at Royal Rumble 04. I'm probably forgetting about a ton over the past years and years. But again, something that if worked properly is a great culmination to what hopefully would have been a great feud, because that is definitely something that is up there as far as these guys are going to brutalize each other and one man is not going to get up.
Didn't they first pay-per-view I was here? Batista and Cena.
Yes, they did have a last man standing match.
And duct tape?
Yep, that was the duct tape last man standing match.
Now they're all bitches, so
yeah,
this match is dwindled down to just complete garbage. They can do it so much better with the PWGs and Ring of Honors and stuff like that, but if they go in WWE...
Not in TNA, though, because they do the pinfall last man standing.
Oh, I forgot about that.
Yeah. Unfortunate.
But,
well, they're really good.
Yeah, we're a half hour in.
Half hour? Cool. An energy boost? Any more about the last man standing match? Alright. That was actually Quaddy's number 6. He shit all over it, but that was my 8. My 8 is 6. So
there's a lot you could do with that, and it's kind of
again, it's kind of one
people.
You need to. A lot of people be like, "Why the fuck is that even on the list?" You have to take out the mindset of the last 7 years. If you
PG era.
Take out the PG era. Go back to 2009 and backwards.
Watch Raw.
Watch those. Watch like I was talking about Rumble 04 with Trippin and Sean. Watch the Edge and Cena one. Watch the fucking Cena and Umaga one. I mean that shit's great. And if that's what I'm saying. If pulled off, great. That's why it's on this list.
But Cena's also been in one where he went through a light. So.
That is true. That was actually the 09 one, but that was after that match ended. That's how that match ended. But everything before it was great. Next one, we're going to have a lot of controversy for this one because Quaddy changed his opinion. I think it had a lot to do with the PG era and how everything is nowadays with gimmicks and stuff like that, which I totally understand where it comes to because the last, I don't know, let's see, 6 years now, I guess it would be 5-6 years now.
Since what? I can't make them in...
Since, I guess, 2009 when they started having that one pay-per-view every single year. This is my number 2 as far as I went more wrestling history. Quaddy went more what's going on now. Quaddy's number 7, which is the Hell in a Cell match. A lot of people would probably have this up there, 1 or 2 more than likely for a lot of people, but I understand where Quaddy's coming from this perspective because the last 6 years, ever since they started having the Hell in a Cell pay-per-view, it waters it down. It doesn't make it significant anymore, and the Hell in a Cell match probably, I could say, will not have any of the same significance unless they stop doing that pay-per-view and they don't have one for 5 years, I would probably say. For the extent that you have done this pay-per-view, you have watered this great gimmick and this ultimate culmination of a feud down so much that it doesn't have its luster anymore. Like I said, it's still my number 2 because of what wrestling history it has to it and the significance of how big it was when it started. Because I remember how big it was when it started. 1997, Bad Blood. I've said it a million times. I should have been there. But if I was, I probably would have shit my pants and had a heart attack all at the same time. Because I was...
You probably would have ran like you did after Punk.
I did.
In the bank. Been like, monster!
Except run the wrong way and not towards the monster. But yeah.
Now the monster's a fucking big bitch.
So much history to this matchup. Obviously, like I said, the first one being in October of 1997 with Shawn Michaels and The Undertaker, in my opinion, still the best Hell in a Cell match that there is. But just the ultimate culmination of a feud. You get the feud going, you could have a cage match, you could have this or that, but you get that cell, and the original structure, I think, is more ominous than the one that they made way too big. Because it's confining. It feels big, but confining at the same time. More so than a cage match, but definitely not as much as what they have it now, being 800 feet tall and it's almost up to the fucking roof of the arena. The original one where Randy Orton was touching the top before he did that fucking dropkick to the Undertaker. The one where damn near was touching the top when he get chokeslammed, whatever the case may be. But this is the ultimate as far as it goes for me, and some of. No question, the greatest matches in wrestling history. You look at Shawn and Taker, the first one. You look at the fucking Armageddon 2000 one, which is just Attitude Era at its best with all 6 men and just carnage. I love that match thoroughly. I could watch it every single day and never get bored. It is just Attitude Era at its best, and there's nothing more that I love than that. So that's great. Over the past couple years, there's been some goods. I mean, Tripp and Taker from WrestleMania 28 was good. Again, the streak of the Hell in a Cell pay-per-view Hell in a Cell matches, not really a lot of notable ones. Cena and Randy had a good one. But really, that whole streak of ones, really nothing really quality. You look at Lesnar and Taker from '02, outstanding, helped make Lesnar even more of a monster. And you look at what he is today, and that helped a lot. You look at the Shawn and Tripp. You look at one of my underrated favorite ones, which is Triple H and Batista from Vengeance 2005. I thoroughly enjoyed that one. You look at DX and the McMahons. There's so many fucking great Hell in a Cell matches. Jericho and Tripp. Fucking losing my mind. Where did I lose it? There wasn't no one in 2001. That still is blows my mind. There was not a Hell in a Cell match in the year of 2001. My favorite year didn't have a Hell in a Cell match. But just so many down the road. Edge and Undertaker. Batista and Undertaker with Edge returning at the end of it. So much great stuff. The culmination of it. How simple it is. Again, the simplest ideas can produce the best results. You just put a giant-ass structure over these guys. They have nowhere to go, but there's endless opportunities inside of there. Hell in a Cell, obviously deserving of being way up on our list, as it is here. Not way up, obviously, with what Quaddy's probably going to tell you here in a second, but definitely deserving to be on there. And obviously, my number 2 definitely would be up there, but great match, great concept, and just so much history to the Hell in a Cell match.
My mindset behind this match is we get force-fed down our throats every year. Yep. And like J-Man said, when you get something fed to you or forced you to watch every year,
fed to you as you eat it. That was just poetic justice right there.
But whenever you have something where there's the history of it, like J-Man said, the starting off with the Shawn and Taker. If you look at these, I think we've looked at these before. Taker was in about 90% of these matches.
Yep.
And the reason why is because Undertaker's gimmick was so mysterious, so oh man, what the fuck?
So ominous.
Yeah, there you go. That's
what
the
structure.
Right. Yeah, and when you put him in a cage and it's supposed to be intimidating, and whenever you have somebody across the ring as an Undertaker, you get the eerie feeling of he's not going to make it out. And there's a couple pay-per-views where, I think one of them, I don't know why it sticks out to me, is where Taker last ride someone through the mat.
What are you talking about?
And then the fire came up. Well, that was against Edge.
That was against Edge, yes.
And that just pretty much just shows everything how Undertaker can make something awesome. But now you have these Hell in a Cells where it's at every house show or every you get it every October, and that's what killed that paper. That gimmick is you have it every year. You don't make it
special.
And J-Man, I will quote J-Man on this: you build to the match. You don't build backwards from the match.
Yep.
You have a Royal Rumble. You have stuff where you could build to, like the Money in the Bank and stuff like that, where it's not like this.
It's anticipated and it's fun.
Yeah, there you go.
Right.
And you could build stuff it's another stepping stone. And this is one of the last stepping stone for a feud. Because after this match, unless you're Shawn and Tripp and Taker and you walk off in the sunset, which you should have done, but you could do so much after this. And they did with where Edge returned after the Batista and Taker match. So, I don't know.
I have just, as soon as I said, I have a perfect analogy to explain this. When the best like Quaddy was saying, you don't have a match and then you put it in there. You have the match deserving to go inside of a Hell in a Cell. It was always something to where man, I wonder if in a couple months they could build this feud up enough to finally have another Hell in a Cell. It's not like a Hell in a Cell, another Hell in a Cell, because it's so special. You got it years, and it would be years gaps between where they would have it. There was a couple years there, like the 03 and 04s, where they did it at Bad Blood every year because they brought the Bad Blood name and stuff like that. But a lot of them deserved to be in there. You Shawn and Tripp, obviously Tripp and Kevin Nash, not so much. But you built to it around the feud. You didn't go there okay, we have to put this inside of there. But the best example of it, because it was always something oh my god, are they going to do it? And they would have it and be inside Hell in a Cell, and it would be that culminant, holy shit moment. It would release the Kraken. Well, now it's the Kraken is at the fucking zoo, and you can just go see him any day you want, because it's not special anymore. You don't have it to where it's a fucking bomb dropping, and you're holy shit, we're going to do a Hell in a Cell next month at the pay-per-view. Now it's oh no, well, next coming October, we're going to get 2 of them, and it's going to be just a regular match. They're not even going to use it. They don't want to do any, too much hardcore shit around it. So
do you have a Kraken here?
I don't. I wish I did. Release the Kraken, bro. But that's pretty much, it's like some exotic thing that you don't ever get, and now it's just on display for everyone to see, at the fucking dollar store. It's just whatever. Not really. Quadricorn? Maybe. But yeah, that would be why we have that there. So hopefully we defended it enough to have it at that position for our combined total. If you don't like it, then there you go. You don't have go Blues. There you go. That was that too. Yeah. Number 4 is another variation of where the cage match came from, where the Hell in a Cell came from, and where today it is still used properly to this point, and now it is going to be used like Release the Kraken, I think, to where it's going to use very sparingly and not as often because we don't have the Elimination Chamber pay-per-view anymore. We have Glorious Fastlane, for fuck's sake.
You love that.
You which love is...
That. Hey, guy, you love that pay-per-view. Yeah, you love that shit.
Our number 4, my number 5, Quaddy's number 3, which is the Elimination Chamber match. So unique. So outstanding of a concept, starting at Survivor Series in 2002, which, and still, in my opinion, the best one, which was outstanding.
Okay, yes.
Shawn Michaels winning at Madison Square Garden at that Survivor Series. Love that Survivor Series. But the concept of, 6 people in there, 2 people start the match up inside of this awesome-looking structure. The structure of Elimination Chamber, I think, goes, again, because of the Elimination Chamber pay-per-view, which still... It started to feel like almost a Rumble because it was anticipated, but it worked. Especially between the periods of 2008 to whatever the period was, you actually decided the number 1 contender for the secondary title inside of that, or the other title inside of that, or the great 2009 one where Edge lost the title in 2 seconds and then came into the other one and won the other title. I mean, that kind of shit doesn't happen very often. You have this special type feel matchup that you could work interesting stuff around, which they did there.
45.
Start with, that's where we're at right now?
Yeah,
whatever. Start with 6, 2 in the ring, 4 in the chambers, in the pods. It's an ominous-looking structure, a very new variation, obviously, a Hell in a Cell, but a different type feel to it. The rules of 5 minutes, somebody else comes in and turns into a triple threat, then into a 4-way, and whatever the case may be. Speaking of that, we excluded triple threats and 4-ways from our list. We figured a lot of triple threats and 4-ways would be involved in a lot of these matches, but those are great too. But we just more wanted to do kind of gimmicky type things, so we left those out in case anybody's wondering.
In case you were really thinking about that.
In case people were really like, where the fuck is the goddamn Fatal 4-Way match? I'm really missing that pay-per-view too. Not at all. Yeah, but just outstanding concept. It worked with anyone you wanted to fit in there. Small guys, big guys, whatever the case may be. You could fit them in there and it wouldn't look weird. But so many great matches. Again, the first one was outstanding. The one in 2003, which was one of Quaddy's favorites, because he just likes to see Goldberg smash people. Because that was fucking entertaining as hell. As much as he couldn't provide anywhere else, he just smashed the shit out of people, and then having Tripp just pull the sledgehammer out and hit him and pin him.
Goldberg smash!
It was pretty fucking hilarious. Just to see him just run through all the pods and the fucking going through everybody was just entertaining as hell to see. Had the one in Puerto Rico. That one at New Year's Revolution. Obviously, one of the best moments in the past 15 years involved Elimination Chamber with John Cena retaining and having the first ever cash-in by the Rated R Superstar Edge. What a fucking awesome moment that was to win his first WWE Championship. Yes, that is correct. I'm trying to think off the top of my head. No, that is incorrect. That was in 2007. Yeah. Sorry, he won the WWE Championship first in 2006. Yes.
That was first cash-in after the...
That was the first cash-in, so that was his second world title, second WWE title. He won the WWE title first in 2006 after he beat Rob Van Dam on a Raw in a triple threat match. It was Raw. It was RVD and Cena. It was after One Night Stand with Cena and RVD.
What company was that?
It was WWE.
Yeah, buddy.
One Night Stand, where he came in with the fucking biker helmet and he speared Cena through that table and he took the biker helmet off.
That's right.
And then he ended up winning Raw, and then they had that great feud with Cena and Edge throughout 2006.
Could you imagine if Edge was still wrestling?
I think about it all the time, actually. A lot of the shitty times, I'm like, man, I miss Edge.
There's quite a few guys we missed.
Yeah, quite a few.
That should be our next top.
Yeah, that'd be a good one. Definitely up there for sure. But
Owen Hart will be 2.
Yeah.
Chris Benoit 3.
Too soon? But yeah, that great moment that happened after that Elimination Chamber 2007. So many great matches. Really just produce it. It's automatically going to be longer than 25 minutes. It's guaranteed just at the time, and it gives it room to breathe. It doesn't. You get a lot of bigger guys in there. Kind of around 2008, I think they had one of the ones like Khali and fucking Big Daddy V were made.
That was the ECW version.
No, this was one. It was a SmackDown one. It had like Khali, Taker, Batista, and I want to say Big Daddy V was in it. Managed by Matt Striker at the time.
Big Fatty D.
There you go. But yeah, just a unique idea, a concept that came up and just worked perfectly. And I think, again, another one that needs to be used like Release the Kraken. Like, very, like, holy shit, we're going to have a fucking Elimination Chamber. Not like, oh, well, next that month we're going to have that there because that's the gimmick around that pay-per-view. We could go on and on about how ridiculous that is. We talk about it all the time. But Elimination Chamber, number 4.
I'm really shocked that J-Man didn't say about this type of match in this thing he just said.
What?
This is like another former King of the Mountain. Not King of the Mountain, King of the Ring.
King of the Ring? What the hell are you talking about?
Like how they built it up for the number 1 contender.
Well, when they had it for the number 1 contendership, kind of. It's not really a tournament, though. I don't understand what you're talking about.
I know. I'm
just continue with the Elimination Chamber.
Just give me shit. That is all. Ignore me. Most people do. Chamber is one of those pay-per-view matches where it actually fit usually.
Yeah.
Because it's usually around that time after Rumble. No. Yes.
Yes. Rumble was in February.
Yeah, it was between. That's right. One of those things after Rumble where if you got the number 1 contender, you really didn't know who you were going to face because Chamber was so unpredictable and such a unique idea. And they've done so many different ideas with it where they made Extreme one, but we've always thought, me and J-Man and Ryan and The Truth, have always thought they could do something with a tag, or do a tag team one, or a one for a small, not like necessarily a smaller title, but like the mid-card titles, where you could do one with the IC title. Because just the things they could do where they could climb up the sides, or like they did with RVD, and they've done with other people, where they climb up the sides and different moves off it, or they could do suplex off it, stuff like that, and not die. And they could do it for like the mid-card titles, not like the big titles. But no matter what, when you have a chamber, it's one of those matches where you're pretty much going to be sitting the whole time, and you're like, oh, like the Goldberg, or where you have Edge cashed in, or where you have different things where, like, oh man, he just did that, or different aspects they could have done too. Unless you're like Undertaker, almost died before too.
Yeah, we were actually at that live one with the pyro going off too soon. Oh god, that guy probably instantly got fired.
Or Taker just got put him in a room.
Probably. Just what did he do to him? That's scary.
BC in the butt.
I don't want to. Ooh, too much.
Bill Cosby in the butt.
Getting down to the nitty gritty here. Our number 3, which is my number. Both our number 4s ended up being number 3 with how the numbers worked out. Which is a match that to me describes TNA because it's about what TNA is about, which is the X Division, and it is the culmination of greatness in the X Division, which is the Ultimate X match. Another one, when I first saw it, just changed my mind of, again, just completely revolutionized what you could do in a wrestling match. Because of the guys and the hybrid athletes that were in the X Division, because to me that's what the X Division was just hybrid athletes that were, strong but quick and athletic and could fucking just run circles around people, but yet were able to stand up to people at the same time. That's why it wasn't about weight limits, it was about no limits. So, again, along with King of the Mountain, the Ultimate X is what the part of TNA that we love, because TNA isn't TNA anymore. The TNA that you watch on Discovery Channel or whatever Destination Dickfuck or whatever the fuck it is.
Discovery?
I don't know what fucking channel it's on. I don't have it. I have Discovery Channel. I don't have whatever channel TNA is on. I don't think TNA is going to have the channel that TNA is on very soon. But that's not TNA anymore. The TNA that I love, that Quaddy loves, that all of us from the Pulse love, is the TNA that, centered on the X Division, that, focused in the main event, but yet focused on the main event in a very unique way with the King of the Mountain match. And the focus of TNA was always about what helped grow TNA, which was the X Division. And the culmination of the X Division was the Ultimate X match. So much talent that was involved in these matches. You look back at some of those great, the DVD releases of TNA back, when they were great to own, which we all owned. Some of the best of the X Division DVDs that have so many great Ultimate X matches on them, and the names just down the line, the AJs and the Daniels and the Joes and the Chris Sabins and Alex Shelley's and Loki's and Petey Williams and just Kaz. The names go on and on. The Jerry Lynn's. I mean, there's so much talent and depth to that X Division back when it was fucking awesome. And you look at, they had tag team ones with LAX and AJ and Daniels and, Joe. Did I say Joe? I hope I said Joe. Samoa Joe, obviously. Just so much fucking talent when you look at these Ultimate X matches, and so different. The X structure above the 6-sided ring with the X Division title in the middle. It was just you could just see that scene, and just you look at it and like, that is how the future of professional wrestling should look. It's different, but yet it's a evolution of where it came from, and it's just so it's just so modernized to the point to where it's so fucking unique. And I love those matches. It actually makes me want to go watch them right now because I haven't watched them in quite some time. But I love them, and they were what I love about TNA. And everything around it was what we love about TNA, which was the X Division and the talent and the depth and everything that helped build that company to the point that it was and not where it is. But the Ultimate X match, definitely on our match types for our Pulse 10 match types. And number 3 here, outstanding, love it.
One of these, like the King of the Mountain, this is what made TNA what TNA used to be, and what everybody used to be drawn to, is the craziness that you could do from an Ultimate X type of match, where you don't know where people are going to jump from, you don't know how the title is going to come down, but to win that match, you have to get that title down. And with the names that run with it, like the AJs and like J-Man said, with Daniels and Samoa Joe, Mason Red.
Didn't even say Red, yeah. Loki. It's just a name go on and on.
Like, you can go through this list and just look at these guys, and like, people are like, oh, they're small guys, they should be able to do this. Well, if you look at Samoa Joe, he defines all the odds of what you're talking about. Right. But you have these matches where it wasn't like it was every year. It was when it was fit, when it should be. And like J-Man said, I'm pretty sure I'm going to go home and watch some of these, because it's just one of those matches where you don't see it that often. And then what TNA's done and run itself into the ground, they literally just got their head out of their ass, got rid of Dixie, got rid of some of these other fucking folk that shouldn't be there, and just more focused on the bring back the 6 sides, do some of this. You probably can get a fan base back. But with what TNA is doing now, it's just digging its grave, and it's going to be buried next to WCW.
It's really unfortunate, because, I mean, I love...
And there's guys out on that roster, and I have a feeling, this next matchup, we're probably going to talk about where these guys can come back into WWE and actually have a good living. But just what TNA is doing and what they should, not paying their guys and shit, I'm not going to get on this rant, but it's just sad of what's going on there. So
yeah, it's the pinnacle as far as TNA goes, is how they revolutionized what wrestling was at the time, and that's the TNA we love. That's the TNA I love just absolutely so much, and just makes me want to go watch some of those great ones. I remember just one great moment really quick was the one where AJ fucking springboarded and grabbed the title all in one fell swoop. The list goes on and on. The great moments and matches and talent that's in there. Just Ultimate X is definitely personal favorites here, and just some great stuff. Just so revolutionary, so creative, so original, and just outstanding. Ultimate X, number 3 on our list. Number 2. We were tossing up whether to involve this, because it's such again, a lot of these are very unique, but to its own very unique, because it's almost like the granddaddy of gimmick matches as far as it really goes, but it's really not like a normal match, obviously. It's something that's always year-round. It's always built around. It's always anticipated. It's talked about 6 months in advance, a fucking year in advance, after it happens. Which is every single January, the Royal Rumble match. The winner of the Royal Rumble match, obviously going on to WrestleMania, gets to the number 1 contender spot, for the championship at WrestleMania. Always my favorite match. Always my not match type, obviously. But what I'm saying is my favorite anticipated match. We start that WrestleMania time. It's always what we look forward to, because of the number one thing, which I say it every single time, that is the best part of professional wrestling, especially nowadays, because it's few and far between, which is unpredictability. And that is 1 hour of unpredictability. You have no fucking idea what is going to happen. It's so hard to predict nowadays. The one that are few and far between, where you can okay, this is probably going to be the guy, like it was this year, painstakingly predictable. Not unpredictable by any means, which was one of the worst Royal Rumbles ever. The worst Royal Rumble ever. I don't know why I said one of the. But when it is at its pinnacle, when you're looking forward to all of this talent and all of this depth coming into this hour-long matchup that is just that is so quick. It is the quickest hour you will ever experience in your entire life because you're just glued to the screen seeing what's going to happen next. Every 90 seconds, who the fuck's coming out? This guy. We sit there and, predict like, oh, that guy's coming out, this guy's coming out, and it's like, it's done. And then it's like, holy shit, that was the quickest hour of my entire life. But so many great ones. My favorite one, again, my favorite year being 2001, my favorite Royal Rumble, 2001. So much talent in there, the depth in there, the finish of it, the culmination, the story that they were able to tell with Stone Cold, in his return and coming in, winning the Royal Rumble, and then going on to WrestleMania and win the title and everything that happened there. Just so much, you could tell a great story in there. 2007 with Undertaker and Shawn Michaels and the ending of that saw a great matchup with the two of them for however long that lasted, almost 10 minutes or so between those two, and wanted everybody to see Shawn Michaels and The Undertaker again. If you didn't want to see it before then, I don't know why, but that wanted everyone to see that match, and then you saw what they did in the future. So all eyes are always on the Royal Rumble. It is always the most anticipated, outside of WrestleMania, the most anticipated one event that everybody wants to see, and everybody is, oh my God, who's going to come with this? Are they going to have surprise people? Like, where they're at? And then, who's going to win this? And who's coming in that part? And who's coming in first? Can that guy from first go all the way? There's so much history, so much behind it. Such an original and creative idea when they came up with it. And it's just kind of grown into a fucking monster, which is the Royal Rumble match. Always unpredictable. Always something that we always look forward to because it's big. It's big time. It's always, the maker of stars and going on to WrestleMania and everything, and just the unpredictability that surrounds that entire hour is just, it's fucking mass carnage down here in the basement because we don't know who's going to come out, what's going to happen next. It's so much fun, so original, so creative. Royal Rumble, number 2 on our Pulse 10 match.
It's like Royal Rumble is like towards the end of the year in wrestling terms because it comes down to Mania is like December month. I have a mindset of having a different month, different calendar in wrestling terms. Because once you get to WrestleMania, it's like you're flipping the new calendar because the new year, a lot of people get moved, a lot of people get released, a lot of people get signed on. Where you have the Rumble, and it's like your end of the year, it's like getting closer to the Christmas. Because in my mind, WrestleMania every year, no matter how good or how bad, it's a Christmas event.
Yep.
And then you have the Royal Rumble being the Thanksgiving event. And then you have something smashed in between.
Right.
Or Royal Rumble would be Halloween, whatever. You get the ideas. But where you have this match where you don't, like with the technology and all the fucking spoilers, we can fucking keep beating a dead horse. But with a Royal Rumble, nothing has ever gotten released, even though we can predict usually what happens. The winner's never been really released. It's just a list of guys in there, and we could be like, this year it's going to be Alex Riley's year, or it's going to be Undertaker or Kane's, or somebody, like this year, fucking, it was a shitbag that fucking...
Roman Reigns.
The shitbag that is what it is. But
I didn't know if you could think of his name or not.
Yeah.
It's easily forgettable.
But then you have the years like Jamin said with 01, or the one where Benoit won from
04, right?
04, or where Eddie won, or where Mysterio won, or Eddie didn't win.
Eddie never won.
But you get my gist.
That would have been a good one.
Yeah. Or where you have the guys where you don't know what's going to happen. Where you have to say
2008, Cena's return. At 30.
Where you broke everything
where
down
I wanted to break everything. 2010, where I didn't want to break everything, and I ejaculated all over myself with Edge returning.
Yes.
I mean, the people built. That's another thing we didn't even speak about is the returns of people that have been out for injury, and they're like, God, I want to get ready so I can have that fucking Royal Rumble return because that pop that you get for that is just massive. Just
even
so
the year
fun.
where they had 40 guys, I still think that
2011.
that should be where we should be at. 30 guys is okay. You've done it. It's been passed. 40 guys, then you get some of these new guys up, where you could have a Kevin Owens come up, where you could have some of these guys, and just the debuts where we're fucking be ejaculating all of ourselves, and everyone's like, with NXT blowing up, you can have like NXT guys come up and try to fight for the title, or try to fight for number one contender, or contracting the main roster. There's so much shit you could do.
Yep. Tons of stuff. Obviously, the history that's behind it and how anticipated we are for that, because it's just...
My mindset with TNA, what I was going to say is you can have the Kurt Angle's debut or come back over. Because if his TNA is no go and he's not getting paid, he's going to want to go somewhere and get paid. He wants to finish his career. Yeah,
AJ Styles, because he's been on the independent scene, going over to Japan, whatever the case may be.
Or you have the Christopher Daniels, the Bobby Roodes, the James Storms.
And Joe come in there.
Yeah, Joe debut.
Yeah, Joe debuted at the Royal Rumble. That'd be something. I mean, yeah, tons of.
I may suffer a stroke,
They'd-
but you know.
The debuts, the returns, everything that's around it. I mean, the older talent that they bring in now, kind of for the nostalgia feel, not so much great, but the great returns and stuff like that. Will always
You had
be something
Jim Duckett.
Jim Duggett?
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 Jim Duggan?
Yeah.
Punk's promo that he cut in the middle of the Royal Rumble.
Yeah, where he promoted
Great.
in between.
Just promoted in between, eliminating people. That's great. It just
Or where you had the divas even in there.
yeah. With China and Beth. I think they're the only two that have been.
Kong.
Oh, you're right. Yeah, those are ours.
Yeah,
those
she
are ours.
eliminated Michael
That's
Cole.
true. I was wrong.
And Dolph and
Yeah, true. Yeah, so I mean, so many great moments, so many great
Sarah right next year.
years. Yeah, jizz. But yeah, just so historic as far as Royal Rumble goes, and not too much gets more historic than that. Number one, which was our unanimous number one between me and Quaddy, which is our number one Pulse 10 match types, which is the TLC match and the variations of the TLC
We're
match.
going to debut of what a TLC match is here, so if you just want to win a second.
Just powerbomb me through here, and then I'll just probably cry.
Or
Yeah.
try to RKO and break your leg.
Right, where the ladder match kind of spawned into everything that, and really the originators of this concept was everything that those young hungry tag teams of the late 90s, the Edge and Christians, the Dudleys, and the Hardys all spawned into, we need more atmosphere and we need more things to fucking break. We need more boundaries to break through. We need more. And adding in, you wouldn't think that it would change things that dramatically. You already got ladders in there. Okay, you bring some chairs and tables in there. Okay, whatever. No, it just completely just turns into, my eyes, what is quintessential professional wrestling, which is just sitting there and just losing yourself and being like, human beings are doing this right now. It just is like, it doesn't seem possible. You look at some of the great ones that started out. The very first one, TLC SummerSlam, TLC won at SummerSlam 2000. One of my favorites. I love that one. That was just carnage. I mean, it is literally just like 20 minutes of how are these people not dying right now because they. And obviously, what happened to their careers, you look at an Edge, I would take a lot of those moments away to have Edge there now and healthy. He is healthy, obviously, but not healthy enough to be a competitor still. Because, like we say, and I miss Edge thoroughly, like, bad. Like, he was such an asset. And it's one of those cases that you don't know what you got till it's gone type thing. Because when he's gone, it's like, God, what a amazing. We knew it then, but you kind of more know it now. Because a lot of those moments that you saw in those TLC and the ladder matches and the wear and tear that it put on their bodies made it to where they shortened their careers. And they were not able to go through a lot of things for the entertainment of all of us. And those are the guys that, a lot of the guys that don't get spoken about as far as, the biggest names in wrestling history and the Hogans and the Savages and the Warriors and all this kind of stuff like that. No, the guys we talk about are the guys that go in there and busted their asses their entire careers. Shawn Michaels, the Stone Colds, The Rock, the Edges. Those guys, maybe not so much The Rock because he kind of got handed everything, but, the Punks and the Bryans, the guys these days, but the Edges who went under the radar for a majority of his career and busted his ass to even just get known. Because look at what he did in a span of, coming in 1998 and what he did all throughout the end of the, the 90s and stuff, the tag division, stuff like that, going into 01 and then having a singles run and still having, great, ladder match, stuff like that. Another underrated ladder match, the one that I attended at No Mercy 2001 with Edge and Christian. Outstanding there, and you look at the 02 and getting the IC title and the US title, and then winning some more tag titles, and then finally in 2006, after nearly fucking 10 years, finally gets his run for the opportunity to go for the world title, where other people were just handed opportunities. Like I mentioned The Rock, but he did kind of earn himself at least a little bit more than some individuals did now, to where he's just treated like the golden boy, like a lot of people are, with being a movie star and this like that. Those are the guys that we talk about, the Edges, the Shawn Michaels that busted his ass for 20 years to, get even noticed in a big man sport, a guy that, worked his ass off to get to that point. And nowadays, you look at the Seth Rollinses and all the guys in NXT and the Daniel Bryans and the CM Punks and, the Dean Ambroses and, all those type guys, the Kevin Owens, the Sami Zayns, the list goes on and on and on, all the guys in NXT and stuff like that. Those guys that had to bust their ass through very brutal ass shit that are getting worn out and beat down this is why. Another huge reason why this is our number one, because of the pain and the punishment that these superstars and these talent went through for our enjoyment and for our entertainment. Because this is, it's almost like an acknowledgement of what these guys put themselves through, is why this match deserves to be on there. And you could mention that about the Chambers and obviously the Hell in a Cells and stuff like that. But this one is known for being one that, definitely shortened some careers. You look at Christian now; he's not able to work anymore. You look at Edge; shortened by injury and could have been paralyzed if he had one more bad bump if he would have continued working. So it's in acknowledgement for the work and the effort that people put in these TLC matches, and now spawning into these days with the Full Metal Mayhems that happen in TNA or the Ladder Wars, whatever the case may be. But our number one is TLC, and all the great moments and matches. SummerSlam 01. You look at TLC 2 at WrestleMania 17. The TLC, which to me, it's Edge's match. I mean, that's why I talked about Edge, and it was his whole thing. It's his match, in my opinion. It was started by, all those tag teams and what the great work they put on, because they put on the best ones. But then he took it and made it his match. The match he had with John Cena in Unforgiven in 2006 in Toronto. Fantastic, bar none. The match he had with Ric Flair on a fucking Raw was outstanding. And you look at just what it's turned into and all the other great ones, down the road. The one he had with The Undertaker. I mean, it's his match, and it was his time to shine, because that was the one he's like, you're going to be in my territory, in my zone. You're going to be in a TLC match. And all the talent that in those tag teams that made it into what it is today, which is a fucking spectacle, which is what you want out of professional wrestling. TLC, our number one on our Pulse 10 match types.
Whenever we first started this list, I instantly put TLC at 1, because it's one of those significant matches that, if you're going to watch it, it's going to be good. It's like J-Man said, what started was Edge and Christian Hardy's just had a regular ladder match, and then they hit the glass ceiling so hard, they kept bouncing off. And then they're probably sitting there and it's like, we got to do something else. And then the Dudleys are like, hey, we want in. We saw what you did. And then they broke that glass ceiling. I don't know why I went to Roman Reigns. Broke the glass ceiling. And just was like, hey, let's do a ladder match on steroids. And what? At tables, ladders, and chairs. And then we'll fucking just go nuts. And now whenever you think of TLC matches, you think of the one where Edge spears Jeff Hardy off the ladder. Or any of the ones with the Dudleys. Yeah. Or anything now where you can look back and be like, geez, I wish we could have this one more time. Or like J-Man said with the Ladder Wars, the one with the Kevin Steen and El Generico back in Ring of Honor, or any of those with the Briscoes and all them. Just so much shit came from what Jeff Hardy, Matt Hardy, Christian, and Edge did. And those are pretty much the thing, or those four, and then the Dudleys made the TLC what the TLC is now. And now we had shoved it on our throats back with that pay-per-view, didn't we?
Yeah, we still have TLC pay-per-view, yeah.
Yeah, so...
But it still holds its own, as far as, that, because you don't need the blood, you don't need the guts, you don't need this and that. You just need athletic competitors to go in there and just put on a show.
That's why you need to have it for, like, the tag titles. You don't have it for the world title.
You can have it for any title. Yeah. Anything. You could literally have it for any title. Yeah,
if the right guys are in
right, exactly. The right guys, but you could do it for anything. It doesn't matter what it is. But just so much possibilities when it comes to a TLC match, and it just has that big feel, but it has something little special else to it. I don't know what it is.
A little tickle on the ball side.
So a little tickly on the dickly. You know what I'm saying?
Or the pickly. I don't know what the fuck a dickly is.
Well, this whole trying to go under 45 minutes didn't really work.
Yeah, hour 10.
Yeah, it didn't work at all.
You're still watching this.
Thank you.
We love you.
Yeah, we know the true watchers if you're still watching.
It's like, we talked about this, and we've talked about trying to shorten things, but when you get back here...
You just care, man. You just want to talk about all the great moments and matches and
but then we'll watch our fucking Extreme Rules preview will be like...
15 minutes.
12 minutes. What? There's 9 matches.
Well, then we start talking about wrestling history and all the great moments and stuff like that over the past 20 years.
The stuff that brought all of us here is what we've talked about.
Exactly.
Then you have the shit now where we don't even talk about TNA anymore. Ring of Honor is kind of...
Right.
The pay-per-view is so sparse and hard to find. We'll be one in June. It's just like, once we get in this mode, good luck slowing us down.
Yeah.
You're like a fat guy running for cake.
He's not stopping. That's for sure.
It's a fucking train.
Not stopping. Yes.
But must ask you a question.
Ah, good one. because you have a mustache.
I want to get the curl.
Just go
Like
catfish
Raleigh,
hunter.
like a Raleigh fingers.
Get
Catfish hunter?
Catfish hunter?
Raleigh fingers.
Is that wrong?
Raleigh fingers.
Why did I say catfish hunter?
I have
Did he
old
not
guy
have
that
he had a mustache too?
he had one, but Raleigh's.
What was his thing? So catfish hunter did have one.
But not as.
Thank you. I was right though. Not as much as Raleigh fingers.
Not
Look it up, motherfucker. Look it up. Well, hopefully you guys enjoyed this. Hope you guys are still watching. Yeah, and if you do, we know who the true fans are out there. So thanks a lot. Go Blues. Need to say that. Got Game 3 coming up on Monday. Now in Minnesota. Got it going there. We will give our Blues updates every video we're able to do. So go Blues. Keep that train rolling.
Come on now.
But
He did have a mustache.
oh, I did. But you got to find the one who curled that shit up because he curled it up. Quady's gonna look that shit up. But look for our Extreme Rules preview coming this week. I guess it is next Sunday, right? Yeah, it's the same exact one.
Boom.
Thank you.
Boom. That's Raleigh fingers.
Oh, fuck me.
Yeah.
I knew that too, but the other guy had one too. So look for our Extreme Rules preview. I don't know which day. Someday, probably. This coming week. And then our Extreme Rules review after the pay-per-view next Sunday. But yeah, for this will now wrap up our Pulse 10 match types. From our partner Quaddy, I am
26.
J-Man. What's that?
26. Yep, next Sunday.
That is next Sunday.
In Chicago. They're going to eat them alive.
Lucky bastards.
Oh, no, they're going to eat that shit alive. What are you talking about?
Oh, they probably will. They're very shitty.
Okay, we better go. I will play hockey before I leave.
For Quaddy, I am J-Man, and thank you for watching another edition of Pro Wrestling Pulse, the Pulse, professional wrestling in the world.